What's up, beautiful people? It's your girl, it's Leanne. I'm getting blissed out, and it's a beautiful day in the world because I've found another beautiful soul to share some time with. Welcome to the show, Jaisri.
Namaste, my dear. It's so delightful to be here with you. Thank you for your invitation.
Oh, you're very welcome. So this is Shedding into Soul Culture podcast number 11. And I've been on a beautiful journey with heart-based community podcasting, how we can all contribute to a better world. And with shedding into soul culture, the shedding is us coming into our center, into our soul nature, and then revealing our gifts moment to moment within the community, and how we can work together as a community, or how we can learn together as a community. I've been very fortunate to meet this beautiful soul, Jaisri Lambert, out in Surrey, and we met online, and there's been just a beautiful synchronicity and serendipity of natural flow, natural calling, reflecting so many beautiful things that we have in common at different ages, and my hunger and passion and my thirst for knowledge. And so reflecting her passion and her thirst to get the knowledge out, and also to see the wonderful work that I'm doing, I was really inspired in our moments to collaborate, which will be coming soon in the fall. But just to get started with talking and getting some information out and energizing these wonderful mindsets that we have. So recently in my 500-hour training and teaching yoga, what I came across in reminding myself in Ayurveda was also my blessings of Lord Dhanvantri for many years in my life. And I used to wear his t-shirt to bed to even feel connected, to those wonderful lineages of self-healing, connection within, but even the attachment without of us, how we have our personal attachments to a murti or memory of these ancient gods that are placed in time and space to help us regenerate, restore, with wonderful wisdom and healing. So on this journey here in this talk today, I want to hear a little bit from Jaisri. You can tell us a little bit about your history, what brought you to being a doctor and Ayurveda, and then we'll go into the doshas and seasonal dosha awareness. So why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Okay, well, thank you for this warm welcome, my dear. And yeah, so I was born in the West, in Scotland, and emigrated further west to Canada as a young girl of 3 years old. With a bit of mysticism on my mother's side, though she didn't really integrate it well. But her daughters, myself and my older sister, have been in the tradition of healing arts for, I don't know, decades. I'm going to be 77 this year, so most of that time has been involved in a search. And specifically in my teens, I developed migraine headache, and that involves pretty much all systems: nervous system, endocrine system, digestive system, structural system, you name it. I had to heal all of it, but I didn't know how or with whom, because my first journey was with naturopathy and herbal medicine. So I was self-taught for many years because I became a single parent when I was 20 years old. So I was, very involved in healthy family life and my own research. You don't have time to attend wonderful classes at that time. There was not very much available. So I learned largely from books and from other herbalists and informants. And still, I did not get well from the migraine headaches. I had to come in my mid-30s to Ayurveda after at least 10 years of study in other fields, related fields, energy medicine, body work styles, and found that body work and body-based counseling was the most effective for me, for my self-healing. So when I took polarity therapy in 1983, 84 in Vancouver with a guy named Howard Kiwi, Eden seminars at the time, there were very few of these trainings available locally. So I signed up after a lot of drama and found that I could trust myself, which was a new concept to me. One of our lessons was on mind-body connection and unconscious affirmations. So there I learned to trust myself, which was again a rebirth, a complete rebirth, so painful to try to trust myself. But within a year or so, I was able to do that, which was astounding, given that I was still, a very young soul searching. Now, in 1986, I happened to meet Dr. Robert Svoboda, who's well known for his books in Ayurveda, notably Prakriti, Your Ayurveda Constitution, a wonderful basic book about the psychology according to Ayurveda. And he suggested that I meet my teacher, Dr. Lad, who was also his teacher. So he said, I think you should meet my teacher, Dr. Lad. And when he said that, those words percolated in me to awaken something truly timeless. So I did go on to discover that we'd had a very important past life connection. And in fact, realized that most all the connections that were unfolding in my life were indeed from past reverberations, seeking completion, because evidently I had prayed for a liberation lifetime. And so all accounts have to be settled. So the process began. But you're not aware. And so slowly, after I think a couple of years with Ayurveda, I was a very stubborn patient. I didn't want to take the bitter medicine and follow the program. Pitta person, very opinionated and, kind of self-possessed and little, just obstinate. So that's a negative side, which was very much my condition at the time. And that was the root cause of the migraine headaches. So I had to remove all this excess pitta from mind, body, consciousness, all levels. It was, quite a journey.
Mm.
So after that, I really had no ambition, honestly, to become a doctor. I simply wanted to be with my teacher because his energy was so sublime
Mm.
and is to this day. I just recently visited with him in India and he's 82 now. And my goodness, he's a vibrancy incarnate and just a great example of how to live in relationship, how to live in duty, and how to live in joy. So that gives you a little bit of a nutshell to start with, how I came up years back.
So beautiful to hear even how you can connect to the reality of unfolding layers of yourself, exchanging, awareness of how this medicine taught you about what you were holding on to that you had to release, and taking that, challenge with the ego too, of allowing the transformation. It's a huge thing. I'm also going through myself through, I feel like the whole pitta thing and the fiery aspect is, I'm an Aries with like 8 houses in fire, right, in my astrology. And so that's actually not something that I need to ignore, but I have to utilize and transcend with really good earthing, really good balance of like what yoga says is like a really great mixture of all of our koshas. And what it says about all of the eightfold limbs is that we understand we are such a multi-dimensional being. And when we're in one area too strong, and we stay in there too strong, it could go and hinder our health. So I think from hearing from your story and understanding how pitta was hindering you, why don't we talk a little bit about the main doshas and what are doshas? So basic listeners will know, okay, what is Ayurveda? What is the doshas? And then how do they affect us seasonally?
Beautiful. So, yeah, that's a big question. So, let's first of all look at the word Ayurveda itself. It's a Sanskrit word. We're one of the oldest languages still existing and spoken today in this planet. Sanskrit defines Ayurveda as inclusive of all of life. The syllables ayuhu, they're only vowels in that part of the word. There are no consonants, and vowels are feminine. They allow the flow through. They're open. They are soft. And it is, Ayu means life, all of life, the everyday flow of all that is life and living. So you can imagine there's no Western science that comes even close to the meaning of this inclusivity. Then the second part of the Sanskrit term Ayurveda, Veda means knowledge, systematized knowledge. So that becomes a science. So it's called the science of life. So under Ayurveda, our subscience is called Dravya Gunya. Dravya means substance. Gunya means properties of. So properties of substances. Again, there's no Western science that comes even close to the grandeur and inclusivity and aha realizations of, they fragmented sciences, physics, chemistry do bring their aha moments, no doubt, that all is connected, all is one. Look at the important contribution of Einstein, who told E=mc squared. All of this is light. All of this energy that we're experiencing is light, condensed light. So that's one way to express it. But Ayurveda means the science of all of life, and under Ayurveda there comes the cosmology. So Ayurveda science nowadays is understood to have gone through 6 phases of what's called darshan, or philosophical influences. The most important of which is called Sankhya philosophy of creation. So under Sankhya philosophy of creation, expounded by the great sage Kapila, still it's possible today to read his writings in translation, which are probably inadequate to the original, but no doubt this is how we Westerners access these sciences for now, until our consciousness is bigger enough to contain more of these very inclusive concepts. So under Sankhya philosophy comes the concept of Prakriti and Vikriti. So before Prakriti, before the constitution, before the creation of the human body, came the Purusha. Purusha means, I don't know if you speak French at all. French has a word called le néant, which is difficult to translate into English, but it means something like the nothingness or the preceding. Mm-hmm. So Purusha means the all in all, means the pre-existing. So it willed itself into manifestation called Prakriti. So one of the meanings of Prakriti is will, and how we willed ourselves to be particular constitutional beings composed of the 5 elements: ether, air, fire, water, and earth. We'll get back to those momentarily, because they do relate to the second part of your question, which is the seasonal aspect of the doshas. So under Purusha, the pre-existing, and then Prakriti, the manifested reality, that which can be measured, qualified, quantified, precipitates into, first of all, Mahat, the universal intelligence, the cosmic mind, if you will. So again, it's a very big concept to try to take our brain and wrap around. It must be realized. This is why meditation is the first and last medicine of Ayurveda, because we have to realize these bigger concepts. Of course, we need the theory to drive our way as signposts on the inner journey to come to realize what does mean Mahat, the cosmic intelligence, the universal order, so that its job is to maintain order and not allow disorder. Well, that also is a very big idea to try to understand how it applies in individual situations of our personal life, our global life. So this Mahat then precipitated itself into an individuation called Ahankara, which is sometimes translated as ego or I amness, or a realization of separateness. And this comes from desire, according to Buddhism. Buddhism is one of the 6 philosophies influencing Ayurveda, but not the main one. We talked about Sankhya already, which is really the descriptive or enumerating of the creation itself. because they are individuated through desire. This is why Buddha told, be desireless, so you don't incarnate and you don't suffer and you don't get separated from the divine, the pure compassion, the pure love. So if you have no desires, then you won't need to incarnate, as we have, obviously, and all listeners as well.
Mm.
Everyone, all individuated beings, plants, animals, all is under this Mahat, cosmic order, cosmic intelligence.
Mm.
So with the precipitation into ahankar, the individuation, now comes the qualitative expression. So qualities, gunas, are first of all three, the mahagunas, sattva, rajas, and tamas. I'm sure you've heard these terms
Mm.
because it relates to food choices. It relates to quality of relationships. And it relates very directly to our day-to-day life, as sattva, meaning purity or light, means the goal. Then rajas, which is the agitation of coming and going, cause and effect. Then there's tamas, which is the actual desires itself, precipitating into materiality, precipitating into crystallized energy and manifestation of matter. So those then now become translated through the five elements: ether, the space in which we exist. This is a very brief little overview for our purpose today. Then the heavier expression of air element, meaning sky, meaning breath, meaning electrical energy. Then there is further precipitation into the fire element, and you alluded to how fire does have its positive qualities. It does create transformation from one state of matter to another, one state of understanding to another. And it also has spreading quality, and we're engaging spreading quality here today with our dialogue to spread this understanding of these very helpful philosophies that help us orient our personal life, our physical life, our healthy life, so that we have the desired outcome of life, which is the self-realization, the merging with the light, the leaving off everything that is darkness.
Mm.
So after fire comes more dense is water element, and water element we know as cytoplasm. We are 85% water.
Mm.
And the oceans which cover our planet are about 2/3, certainly more than half of the mass of the surface is water. So water becomes a very critical element in our constitution. And then, of course, earth, the crystallization, the groundedness, the actual materiality. So all these five elements are required for existence. They're called the mahagunas, and they are combined to form a majority of ether and air element qualities, become the term vata. It's now a psychomedical term. Then water and fire precipitate together in predominance. All five elements exist within all doshas, but there's a predominance of fiery factor in pitta. So sometimes they're used interchangeably, but they do mean something quite different. Then kapha, the third dosha, vata, pitta, and kapha, is predominantly water and earth element. So these are now terms, vata, pitta, kapha, that come to define our psychobiology. So the Ayurveda practitioner will be able to help the person, and even we can self-identify which elements may be dominant in our unique constitution. What is our personalized health program for body, mind, and consciousness?
Mm.
So then to the part of the question regarding seasonality, we know that we're coming into summer now, and we're having these beautiful spring days full of sunlight, full of joy, full of enthusiasm and eagerness for the transformations coming,
Mm.
because buds will become flowers and they will become foods. Then this transformation, this mystical aspect of transforming from one state of matter to another, or one state of consciousness to another through realization. These are the enlightenment processes. So we see the word light there. Sometimes language helps us understand these concepts, how they manifest. And by solstice on into August and September, we will be full on in our latitude here. I love that we're neighbors, by the way. This is beautiful. Though we met online, I love that you live very, very close to me, which is marvelous. But sorry, getting back to the concept of seasonal change. So we will have then the very hot days, the harvest days, the full ripeness of the annual crop, and we'll be in harvesting mode by the time we get to fall. When wind starts to pick up, it's much more Vata governed. Vata disturbances plague us more in autumn, whereas in summer, Pitta disturbances, diarrhea, summer complaints, rashes, poison ivy, infections will dominate. Then as the seasons progress from fall to winter, winter now is much more kapha characterized. That is to say, it's cold, dense. We feel introverted. We feel heavy. We feel interested in inner growth. We're not that much interested in outer, going to play soccer, going to play badminton. We're much more interested in staying home, curling up, having a hot water bottle, and eating. So then comes spring again. So as the kapha melts, and we're seeing the melting now, the fact that we are short of snow this year, the snowpack was very less. So now in this region, we're going to have probably some drought this summer. So these are predictions that we can infer from our Ayurveda logic, that we do have to now not just ration water, even though we're in a rainforest, but our population's growing. So we have, 1,000 more people in Surrey every month here, I'm told, that will need water, accommodation, food supply, support systems like that. So I hope that gives a little nutshell of the seasonal influences of the doshas, Vata, Pitta, and Kapha.
So good. And there's so much in there, audience. So even if we were to be able to break down those aspects you were talking about, the sattvic, the say the three again, those three main ones.
Sattva, Rajas, and Tamas.
And tamas. So in those three areas, they're also internalized and externalized and affecting the doshas also at the same time?
Quite true, because you can see Ayurveda as a precipitation model of creation. That is to say, materiality precipitated from a much more subtle source, and the return journey of the soul follows the reverse pathway through the chakra system up to the third eye and beyond at the time of death for the self-realization process to unfold. So sattva is the upward moving direction towards truth and light. Rajas is the agitation and desires that we have in the psychobiological reality. We call it reality, though it's a dream. It seems real to us now, and it's certainly measurable. So in that sense, we apply the term reality. Then the tamas, the introversion, the idea of curling up again, if you will, introverting, not externalizing, where Rajas is very externalized, engaged, enthusiastic, but Tamas is very introverted, calm, cool, collected.
So that would have an overall effect of the emotional body into the stability of all the 5 elements of the doshas.
Quite true. These Mahagunas, Sattva, Rajas, and Tamas, they are active at the psycho-spiritual matrix. So they are informative to any later developed symptoms. And this is how we can track back the cause of the disturbance into the psycho-spiritual origins. So we always have to resolve those issues that have been heretofore unresolved emotionally and psycho-spiritually for healing to really manifest and be permanent.
So starting with meditation, ending with meditation. I think this is a beautiful way where we're going to collide in the future where, I spent 30 years of my life going into this samadhi, and now the divine awakening of ritual bringing me into higher states by the grace of the universe. So all of this merge of this awareness, audience, what I could say from personal experience is, our body is also broken in three parts, right? It breaks into three parts with the doshas. Why don't we also talk a little bit about that for a minute?
Sure. Before, can I mention the word samadhi and its origins? So
Yeah.
sama means balanced.
Mm.
Then D is the intellect. So balanced intellect, no vrittis, nice, calm, empty mind. So
Samadhi.
samadhi, yeah.
So
So
nice.
it is wonderful to understand the origins of the terminology because it really helps us in our process of self-realization. But
And the sound too, like what I love is like the more subtle we become, we talk about the subtleness to go beyond the desires that bring us into suffering, is the appearance of words, for example, or the beauty of a flower in the room, the fragrance that's in the room, and being present here and now, more with our beingness, right?
yes, and beingness also has these 5 expressions. So Akasha relates to the um, touch sense. Then Vayu, the air element, relates more to hearing, how we hear things. Then visual factor goes more with Rupa, the image, the Pitta factor, sight. Then taste belongs more to water element. And so we have to taste the 6 tastes of the food. We have to have a balance of 6 tastes in the food program, emotional program, so that there is sweetness and bitterness together and astringency. All 6 tastes do move together for our personal balance. And then Ganda, the aromatherapy, the scent, the fragrance of things. In medical terms, we have to identify the disease by smell. Cancer has a particular smell. Flu has a particular smell. And medicines have a particular smell as well. One of the tests of the doctor is that the teacher will give a combination of herbs and the student will have to identify the constituent components and where they were derived and when they were derived, when they were plucked or picked or harvested.
I know we're
So,
so deep.
yeah.
We are so intricate as long as we're able to see the beautification of appreciation. The gratitude has to increase for us to recognize less suffering, So yeah, just a little bit more about the body. We'll break down. We got a couple more minutes here before we end. And I
Okay.
want to just go into the separation. So from the lower part of the body to the upper part of the body, I think there's a breakdown, right, with the doshas?
Well, in the sense that kapha predominates in the cardiopulmonary latitude in the heart chakra, and there's intricate explanations for how that breaks down and expresses. But kapha is dominant in the cardiopulmonary plexus and in other areas as well. Then pitta is dominant in the small intestine. I don't know why it's called small because it's very long. It's a 6 times your height. So to do the math in your head right now, how long is that small intestine from duodenum to ileum? It's long. It's got many inner and outer surfaces, which are very critical to assimilation of life, and many diseases of digestion that originate in the small intestine, where pitta is dominant. Then vata dominates in the colon, in the pelvic cavity, for downward moving air of elimination. So vata is responsible for bowel movement, passing gases, passing menstrual fluid, bowel movement. Even the fetus is a type of elimination, a downward movement of expulsion of contents from the pelvis out of the body. So there are many diseases as well of vata. In fact, most 75% of diseases, according to the medical scriptures of Ayurveda, are originating in Vata dosha, improper elimination. So there's a tremendous amount of emphasis on the pelvic organs of digestion, assimilation, and elimination. So does that help?
And the pitta you said was where?
Pitta is primarily in small intestine, but it
Mm,
exists in many other sites as well. Pitta dosha is dominant in the gray matter of the brain, in the eyeballs. It is dominant in the cheek triangle as a reflex zone for the small intestine. It's dominant in the endocrine glands, which are highly intelligent, responsible for top level management of processes in the human body.
mm,
It's also dominant in bone marrow and liver because these are sites of synthesis of blood quality. Hormones, red blood cells, T cells are mostly manufactured within the bone marrow and liver. So these two become sites of pitta diseases. And
mm.
there are many, so many of them, every type of hepatitis, every type of irritable bowel syndrome, variations, Sprue syndrome, so many. And but in the same way, Pitta dominates in coloration, color of the urine, color of the bowel movement, color of the sclera, color of the hair, even. So coloration becomes an important expression of Pitta as well. So not only are there the primary sites, but there are many secondary sites as well. Does that
Mm.
help?
Oh, so beautiful. So, I just want friends to know this is the beginning with me and Jaisri. My new name for her is Ma Prem Saraswati. She is a fountain of nectar, life lineage of wisdom, and so much coming soon. You have your website, Jaisri, what's it called?
Okay, my website is www.ayurveda, I'll spell that, AYURVEDA dash, Ayurveda dash seminars, plural.com,
Mhm.
www.ayurveda-seminars.com. And yeah, it's got articles for free. It has upcoming events. It has, and we are considering one for the long weekend in September. So
Yeah, we'll
that's
get to that.
fun.
And what's so wonderful is that we have found each other. And we've
Mhm.
started something fantastic today with merging part of my legacy with your legacy for time and space to help and serve people with wisdom, healing, and transformation of what these works are all about is the service to each other.
Absolutely. Without seva, one cannot attain happiness, according to all the past teachers and advisors. So, being in service is the key to being content, and contentment is required to do meditation practice.
That's our labor of love, friends. That's our podcast today. We're here making the right time. We never run out of time because we're timeless. And we look forward to the next podcast that we'll have together. We'll plan that together, Jaisri Ma Prem Saraswati. I bow
Mhm.
to you, sister. I thank you for coming in and sharing your wonderful wisdom. And I'll see you very soon.
Well, thank you for this kind opportunity, my dear, and namaste.
Namaste.